Incredible cleaning ladies touching bubble trick comms. Boy, you won't believe what the CEO Discov. Lisa glanced around the stark conference room, its plush chairs an unyielding reminder of the corporate world she worked in. As a single mother juggling multiple cleaning jobs, the weight of the day bore down on her. Each wipe of the cloth and scrub of the floor felt like a reminder of her own unseen struggles, wrestling with anxiety while trying to provide for her son, Ethan. The constant worry that she was not enough gnawed at her insides, threatening to consume her resolve. Today, after another exhausting shift, her mind wandered to the promises she had made to Ethan to encourage his dreams, to create a safe space for him to thrive. Yet with every late-night cleaning session, she felt like she was failing him. Ethan, just 10 years old, seemed crushed beneath the weight of expectations, his brilliance dulled by a haze of anxiety. As she emptied her bag, a crumpled watercolor painting slipped out, and her breath caught in her throat. A burst of bubbles, each representing a dream he feared to chase, stared back at her, vivid colors against the backdrop of her bleak reality. An idea sparked within her, an ember of hope. She rummaged through the supply closet. There had to be something, anything, that could bridge the chasm of unease between them. Her fingers brushed against a bubble wand, and suddenly she was transported back to simpler times, laughter trailing in their wake. With uncharacteristic resolve, she dipped it into the soapy solution and flicked her wrist. Bubbles floated up, glimmering like stars against the corporate glass. Ethan's eyes widened, momentarily glowing with wonder as the fragile spheres danced into the air. The sterile environment transformed, laughter echoed off the walls, warmth seeped into the cold space. For a fleeting moment, she felt lighter. Her heart finally synced with the rhythm of joy instead of anxiety. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Johnson, the CEO, standing at the edge of the room, observing. His sharp demeanor softened, and she felt a twinge of uncertainty. Here was a man who had meticulously crafted a life devoid of warmth. Would he understand? Just then, the air shifted, charged with tension as whispers of scandal began to circulate in the office. Lisa caught fragments of concern about Mr. Johnson, the kind of betrayal that rattled unsteady foundations. Her heart raced. Could the man she had seen in this moment of vulnerability turn out to be someone she would have to detach from? The balance of power felt unstable, the delicate bond created by bubbles threatening to burst at any moment. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the back of her mind, a storm brewed. What if her connection with Mr. Johnson could lead to something unexpected? But then the memories of his ruthlessness crept in. Corporate power always overshadowed humanity. As the news of the scandal intensified, she faced her worst fears. Should she defend this man, the one who had perhaps forgotten compassion? Could she trust him, a man she knew so little about, to see the value in a mother's love as genuine as her worries, the delicate thread holding them together twisted tighter? Lisa felt the anxiety simmering just below the surface, conflicting emotions battling for dominance. Time slipped through her fingers as more evidence of the scandal emerged. Where did her loyalty lie? In that moment, beneath the shimmering bubbles, she realized she was at a crossroads both for herself and for her son. Would she risk everything on a man driven by ambition, or would she find the courage to take a stand for who she really was? The question hung in the air like the iridescent bubbles, waiting to burst. Lisa's heart raced as the conflict of her loyalties intensified. The specter of Mr. Johnson, the powerful CEO, loomed larger than life. Here was a man who had the ability to alter the course of her life, yet she grappled with the shadows of uncertainty trailing his pursuit of profit over people. Each heartbeat echoed her inner struggle. Was compassion something that could flourish amidst ambition? With the weight of her decisions heavy on her mind, Lisa shifted her focus back to Ethan. His hopeful eyes, flickering with the remnants of joy from that fleeting moment, reminded her of the promise she had made to be his anchor. The world outside the conference room often felt oppressive, and she devoted herself to cultivating a sanctuary for him at home. Just as she began to regain her composure, a sudden thought ignited her determination. Perhaps this could be an opportunity, a way to harness the warmth she discovered mediating this chaotic environment. If working for Mr. Johnson could open doors for her family, could she navigate the duality of her position? She pictured a future where Ethan could thrive without fear, yet, the concerns of the scandal loomed like dark clouds on the horizon. Would collaborating, or simply being associated with him, taint her integrity? Despite the turmoil, an insatiable curiosity ignited within her. What if she could be the voice of reason, bridging the gap between the emotion she had experienced and the cold, calculated world of corporate decision-making? If there was a chance to inspire Mr. Johnson to lead with empathy and understanding, shouldn't she seize it? Taking a deep breath, Lisa recalled the last conversation she had overheard, a discussion of the dire consequences that loomed ahead of Mr. Johnson's tenure if he failed to regain the trust of his team. She would dare to step into that world, presenting herself not only as a cleaner but as a potential catalyst for change. They could both emerge stronger, aligned in their missions, fueled by the resolve to nurture instead of crush. Her feelings of inadequacy battled with the dawning realization that she had strengths hidden deep within, forged through countless hours of struggle and sacrifice. She was more than just a cleaner, she had become a master of relatability and connection. If she could mediate the fears of a child with simple bubbles, perhaps she could do the same for a boardroom filled with hardened executives. But was she prepared for the backlash? Would her efforts be perceived as interference, a mere illusion of misunderstanding? As the possibilities danced in her mind, an ache nestled in her chest. She wanted to channel that anxiety, not into self-doubt but into action. Gathering her breath, she formulated a plan. Somewhere beneath the layers of corporate armor, there had to be a person yearning to emerge as a leader whose legacy could inspire compassion over competition. She could reach him, invoke something greater, a sense of humanity in a world often devoid of it. Just as newfound determination flourished within her, Lisa noticed Mr. Johnson advancing toward her, his expression inscrutable. This was at the moment of confrontation. He would see her not just as a cleaning lady but as a beacon for the potential of transformation. Before she could prepare her words, he spoke, his voice low and earnest. "I've been watching you since you arrived. There is something different about how you approached that situation. Can we talk?" The tension in the air shifted, thick with unspoken implications. Defining moments were rarely quiet, and as the journey ahead beckoned, Lisa understood her commitment to her son would now intertwine with her capacity to enact change. But a nagging question remained: what truth would surface once they laid bare their vulnerabilities? Would they find mutual understanding, or would ambition overshadow compassion in the end? The answers awaited just beyond this pivotal moment. Lisa's pulse quickened at Mr. Johnson's words, a mixture of dread and excitement coursing through her veins. This was the moment she had both yearned for and feared. She stood in the shadow of corporate power, wanting to defy expectations while grappling with the terrifying weight of her reality. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, her thoughts churned. Was she prepared to share her vision? This wasn't merely an opportunity for her, it was a dare to step into a world that had long sidelined the empathetic. She wanted to emerge from behind her role as a cleaner and proclaim that her perspective mattered perhaps even more than the metrics of a quarterly report. "Of course, Mr. Johnson," she said, striving for a confidence she didn't yet fully feel. "There's much we could discuss." The conference room felt both constraining and electric as they stepped inside, the door shutting behind them like a final tomb for her former self. Bare walls lined with corporate accolades mocked her yet inspired her. She could sense the stakes, the great expectations weighing on both of them. "Let us get straight to it," Mr. Johnson initiated, scanning her face for signs of hesitation. "I've noticed how you handle your work. It's different. What you did with that child today, it's something I don't see in the corporate landscape. People need to connect, and I need to solve this current fiasco." His directness unnerved her, a high-powered CEO unmasking vulnerability. But she couldn't let it daunt her. "What if I told you that the answer lies in leading with empathy? It might sound naive, but in chaos, it's empathy that builds bridges." He leaned back slightly, pressuring her to elaborate. "Go on." She took a breath to gather her thoughts, feeling the moment swell with potential. You have the power to influence not just your executives but the industry itself. The company can make ethical decisions alongside profits. It begins with understanding that each employee has a story. What if you included their voices in corporate decisions? By addressing their needs, trust would be restored. Mr. Johnson's brow furrowed, but his curiosity flickered to life. He articulated his doubts next, reflecting a struggle to meld human emotion with financial reality. But the numbers, how will I explain this to the shareholders? They want sales, not sentiment. Wouldn't you rather have engaged employees? Her voice dripped with conviction, rebellion tempting her to chase this trajectory of truth. Your team needs to believe that their contributions matter. When they believe that, they go above and beyond. Trust breeds loyalty, and loyalty drives results. She could feel his surprise wane, replaced by contemplation, visibly caught between possibility and practicality. Yet Lisa could almost hear the ticking clock, the corporate beast nudging him toward past practices, toward a world where numbers transcended humanity. What you're suggesting could change the course of this company, but it's risky, Lisa. Risky is standing still, Mr. Johnson, she said, sensations coursing through her, compelling her deeper into the conversation. Investments in culture yield bigger returns than numbers alone. Don't run away from this challenge, embrace it. In a flash, the conversation shifted, stepping on the precipice of exploration. Mr. Johnson leaned closer, an almost imperceptible spark of interest kindling. Was he truly willing to listen, or was the weight of tradition pulling him back? Let me assemble a meeting with my team to explore this. But he paused, intensity now marked his expression. There will be pushback, and I'll need you with me. Yes, Lisa responded instinctively, doubt transforming into audacity. I'll be there, ready to lend my voice. While relief washed over her, doubts crept back. Would she be able to stand firmly in the face of opposition? She had cracked open a door, but fitting through it would demand all her strength, the strength she now desired to claim. The stakes were higher than ever, yet a sense of purpose ignited within her. She was not just a cleaner, she was someone capable of changing paradigms. But as she left the conference room, the echoes of Mr. Johnson's words danced in her mind. Change could be forged, but at what cost? Where would their joint ambitions collide, and what truths would shatter in the crucible of their shared fate? The very ground beneath her feet seemed to tremble with uncertainties. As she stepped into the bustling hallway, she couldn't shake the gnawing realization that their journey together was only beginning, teetering on the brink of transformation and chaos. What consequences awaited them as they delved deeper into this uncharted territory? Lisa stood in the corridor, heart pounding as she replayed the meeting with Mr. Johnson. She should have felt invigorated by the opportunity that lay ahead, yet uncertainty twisted in her stomach. Would she really be able to convince the rest of the corporate team of her vision? She took a deep breath, the weight of her role pressing on her shoulders. The next day, the meeting was scheduled, and anticipation crackled in the air. She prepared meticulously, analyzing every angle of her proposal and crafting persuasive arguments. As someone who had often been overlooked, the notion of stepping into the spotlight felt surreal. Yet, she knew that if she faltered, the chance might slip away, swallowed by the impersonal machinery of corporate bureaucracy. As she practiced her pitch alone in her dimly lit apartment, doubts clawed at her confidence. What if they dismiss me? What if they ridicule my ideas? She murmured to herself, shaking off the thought quickly. It didn't matter what others thought. She had come this far, and she owed it to herself to try. Her hands gripped the smooth surface of her notes, her eyes hardening with determination. Finally, the hour arrived. Lisa entered the conference room, where a panel of executives gathered, their faces set in serious expressions. The air felt thick with expectation. Mr. Johnson nodded at her, and she allowed herself a small smile. He believed in her. That belief ignited a flicker of bravery within her. Thank you for being here today, everyone, she began, her voice steady. She presented her ideas clearly, emphasizing the importance of empathy and employee engagement. Each statistic she referenced, every anecdote she shared, painted a vivid picture of what a culture of compassion could foster. Their reactions varied. Some executives leaned back in their chairs, arms folded, while others leaned forward, intrigue lighting their eyes, midway through, a senior executive interrupted, clearly unimpressed. Lisa, this is all very touching, but we need hard numbers. How do you propose we measure the effectiveness of empathy? The question struck like a blow, and for a moment, she hesitated. But then, in an unexpected surge of inspiration, she proposed a pilot program, a small-scale initiative that integrated employee feedback directly into decision-making processes. We can measure participation rates, employee satisfaction scores, and retention rates, she responded, her heart racing but her voice unwavering. As she laid out the specifics, she felt the energy in the room shift. Some executive faces softened, a few murmured their interest, indicating she was galvanizing their attention. Just as she thought she might be gaining ground, another voice spoke up, this time tinged with skepticism. This sounds like a fluff job. Who's going to manage this? We have quarterlies to focus on. Lisa took a deep breath, grounding herself in her newfound confidence. What if I joined the team to oversee this initiative? As someone on the front lines, I understand the employees. This isn't just about numbers, it's about real lives and genuine commitment. The suggestion hung in the air. To step beyond her previous role felt exhilarating yet terrifying. Consequences loomed. If they accepted her proposal, she would be thrust into a world where she must navigate a complex system of corporate politics and resistance from established norms. Mr. Johnson met her gaze with a nod, an unspoken challenge lying there. I think we need to consider this. A flicker of hope ignited in Lisa's chest, yet beneath it simmered a tide of apprehension. She had projected her voice, expressed her worth, but the real battle was just beginning. Would the momentum carry them forward? Or would skepticism snuff it out? As the meeting broke up, she felt a disquieting swirl of anticipation and dread. This was a pivotal moment. Would she be embraced, or would she find herself cast away as just another voice echoing against the walls of indifference? She stepped out of the conference room determined, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead, knowing full well that the tides of change waited for no one. But in the quiet that followed her fervent pleas, another thought began to take form. What if she were not just an advocate but a catalyst for real transformation? As Lisa left the boardroom, she felt the pressure of so many eyes upon her, the implications of her next step looming large overhead. Would she answer the call to lead, or would the enormity of it all push her back into the shadows? As Lisa walked through the dimly lit corridors back to her office, the cacophony of whispers and subdued laughter from the conference room replayed in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider, as though she had just stepped through the looking glass into a world tainted by doubt and skepticism. The executives would return to their schedules, their lives unchanged, while Lisa felt the stakes rising like an inferno within her, silently repeating affirmations. She reminded herself, you belong here. They need your voice. Despite her self-encouragement, a nagging fear pricked at her resolve, taunting her with thoughts of failure. Had she overstepped in proposing to lead? What if the pilot program floundered under her watch? Could she live with that fallout? Sitting at her desk, she stared blankly at the screen. Piles of unfinished work sat untouched, a stark reminder of her ordinary reality. But Lisa was flickering through possibilities, brainstorming ways to inject practicality into her proposal. The execs needed to see that impact wasn't just about feeling good, it was about tangible improvement. If numbers could speak her language, so too could they speak theirs. She opened a blank document, fingers hovering hesitantly over the keyboard, and then typed furiously, define metrics, employee engagement surveys, performance benchmarks, retention rates. The ideas began to flow, untangling doubt into structured plans. This was not just a corporate pitch, it was a movement toward a healthier workplace. Hours slipped by as Lisa immersed herself in research. She felt the tumult of emotion morph into clarity, transforming her anxiety into a tool. Sparking counters for every committee objection, refining her plan to reflect measurable success would bolster her argument. Perhaps the remainder of the executives, formerly indifferent, could be turned into allies. In the late afternoon, the door swung open and Mr. Johnson sauntered in. His presence sent a ripple of nerves through her. I've been hearing good things since your meeting. I hoped I would find you here. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, Lisa replied, keeping her voice steady. I'm reworking my proposal based on some feedback I gathered. I feel a surge of confidence for your ideas. However, it's essential to remember that transformation evades those who hesitate, he said, leaning against the doorframe, his eyes seeming to carve through her resolve. Are you ready for the demands this initiative will place on you? Transitioning from a proposal to execution is a different ballgame. The weight of his words rested heavily on her shoulders. He was holding a mirror to her ambitions, revealing the reflection of a courageous, flawed leader eager to rise amid scrutiny. I believe I can fully commit, Mr. Johnson, and I'm dedicated to making this work. His nod was encouraging, yet she could sense an underlying current of doubt in his expression. Good. But remember, the corporate landscape can be tough. There will be colleagues who will challenge your views just to maintain the status quo. You must stand firm. A chill ran down her spine, but it intertwined with excitement. She was no stranger to conflict and confrontation. Her experiences had shaped her. The churning energy she had felt in front of the executives had ignited a fierce will to evolve. I will stand firm, Lisa assured him, her earlier trepidation replaced by a burgeoning sense of control. That night, as she left the office, Lisa realized she was standing at a crossroads. The weight of the future pressed upon her more heavily than ever before, but she was done cowering in anticipation. The possibility of leading the initiative wasn't just a professional breakthrough, it was a personal awakening. Would she become the catalyst she envisioned? The thought electrified her spirit, but it was accompanied by a shadow, one that reminded her of the complexities and risks involved in true leadership. Arriving home, she opened her journal, clearly delineating her fears, the stakes, the judgment, and the relentless grind ahead. But underneath it all lay her vision for a truly engaged corporate culture. Tomorrow would arrive with new challenges, questions of loyalty, and the daunting shadows of opposition. Would she navigate those treacherous waters or falter under pressure? The answer awaited just beyond the horizon, close yet ever elusive. Would she seize this defining moment to transform her vision into reality? In the early light of dawn, Lisa awoke with a fire within her that felt both strange and exhilarating. The night had done little to diminish her determination, rather, it had fanned the ember into a flame. As she moved through her morning routine, brushing her teeth and brewing coffee, she subjected herself to a mental rehearsal of her proposal. Each word, each detail, soared through her mind like a melody she was beginning to know by heart. Today would be critical. She had resolved to demonstrate the potential of her vision with clarity and confidence, distancing herself from the lingering echoes of doubt. Lisa's meticulously constructed metrics would serve as her armor against skepticism. She envisioned her peers looking at the evidence she would present not as mere statistics but as real opportunities for growth and engagement. As she arrived at the office, an unexpected sense of calm settled over her like a soothing blanket. This wasn't just about a proposal anymore, it was about redefining how they viewed their teams and their individual contributions. Confidence surged within her as she stepped into her workspace and spotted her computer, her portal to the battle that awaited. After a few last-minute adjustments to her presentation, she felt ready. She found herself pacing in her office, checking her presentation materials and rehearsing her key points. Focusing on her voice, she reminded herself, they are waiting to hear you. The thoughts of the executive's previous laughter were nothing but fleeting shadows now. She was no longer the outsider questioning her worth. She was the strategist they needed. However, the thought of opposition lingered. Mike, the department head known for his traditional views, would certainly challenge her. Up until now, he had been the embodiment of the status quo. The possibility of facing him ignited a familiar tension. Lisa took a deep breath, remembering Mr. Johnson's advice about remaining firm in her beliefs. Doing this meant not only defending her ideas but confronting the toxic undercurrents that threatened to undermine her mission. As the hour approached, she joined her colleagues in the conference room. A palpable tension filled the air, thick and heavy, as she caught glimpses of her peers checking their watches. When the executives entered, Lisa straightened herself, capturing the room's attention. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today, she began, projecting authority and excitement. She launched into her proposal, the structure of her metrics falling seamlessly into place. As the numbers and graphs illuminated on the screen, she could see nods of acknowledgement from a few of the younger executives. Energized by their reactions, Lisa accelerated through her key points, pivoting gracefully to address potential opposition before it could even take root. It was during this rhythm of confidence that Mike chose to interject. "While I appreciate the initiative, Lisa, how do you expect us to change years of entrenched attitudes within our workforce?" His tone was steady and deliberate, designed to undermine her momentum. Clenching her fists slightly beneath the table, Lisa paused for a breath. "Mike," she asserted carefully, "this isn't merely about changing attitudes. It's about creating a culture of recognition and support. Look at the retention rates in our industry. Clearly defined metrics will offer a tangible means to engage our teams." With every retort he issued, Lisa found opportunities to clarify and reinforce her points. She navigated through each challenge, pushing back with clarity until Mike's certainty began to crack. There was a turning point. She felt it in the way the room's energy started to shift. The presentation concluded, and she felt a wave of exhaustion collapse over her, but beneath it surged a sense of triumph. Today had been a bold step into a new landscape of possibility. Lisa knew she had started a vital dialogue, igniting not just her hopes but those of colleagues paying attention. Yet as she received fleeting smiles and nods of approval, a nagging thought gripped her: was the battle truly won? Would the seeds of her vision take root in the resistant soil of established opinions? The thought lingered as she exited the meeting room, her heart still racing from the exchange. She was aware that this was only the first combat in a longer war of influence and change. Would she have the fortitude to cultivate her plan against skepticism in the days to come? The answer, like the ever-elusive future, loomed just beyond her grasp. Lisa walked out of the meeting room with a mix of euphoria and apprehension swirling within her. The immediate rush of adrenaline was fading, making way for the reality of what lay ahead. She needed to follow up on this moment, to ensure that the flickers of interest she had ignited wouldn't go out. Every pulse of uncertainty raised questions about her strategy. Was it enough? Her mind raced as she navigated the bustling office corridors. Colleagues passed her by, engaged in their tasks, their conversations tinged with ordinary concerns: projects, deadlines, lunch plans. Lisa's focus sharpened, yearning for deepening her influence within this world. Today had opened a crack in the conventional wisdom that surrounded her. She needed to exploit it, perhaps with something more than just metrics. In the quiet of her desk, she pulled out her journal. Scrawling her reflections, her hand moved frantically over the paper. She dissected the presentation, what had worked, what had prompted the slight changes in her peers' demeanor. It was crucial to document insights before the details faded. A new idea began to form, both thrilling and daunting. Could she orchestrate a series of small, informal sessions with her colleagues to build momentum? However, a pesky fear lingered at the edges of her thoughts. What if Mike managed to sway others' opinions against her? What if her efforts were met with indifference? Each question weighed heavily. Her concentration was shattered when her phone buzzed, alerting her to a calendar event, a team lunch scheduled later that day. An opportunity had presented itself, a chance to socialize with her colleagues beyond the confines of rigid office walls. Could it serve as a platform to engage them on a personal level, knitting stronger professional ties? Lisa's breath quickened at the thought. Arriving at the restaurant, she was met by familiar faces peppered with small talk, the atmosphere buoyant. Lisa took a moment to study the dynamics at the table. She could feel Mike's influence even in casual settings. He instantly gravitated to the center of attention, a natural orchestrator of the room's energy. But today, she wouldn't shy away. She took a seat near him, aware that engaging him could be the first step in building a bridge. As conversations flowed, Lisa leaned into her sense of curiosity. She asked for Mike's opinions on team collaboration and sought to understand his perspectives on change management, allowing him to share his insights. Gradually, she noticed shifts in the conversation. Other colleagues began to chime in, encouraged by her interest. Lisa measured her words with intention, weaving in anecdotes from her presentation while prompting discussion on the metrics she proposed. The more she clarified her thoughts, the more receptive her peers became. It was as if she had sparked a flame of dialogue that transformed the atmosphere. Amid laughter and debate, Lisa felt a lightness, a possibility blooming within her. She realized this interaction was paving a path toward a more collaborative environment, one where her vision could take root. Each camaraderie-based conversation brought her closer to understanding the fears and aspirations that motivated her colleagues, but Mike's gaze lingered on her, a mix of assessment and intrigue dancing in his eyes. In that moment, she recognized a new challenge. He was observing, evaluating her growth. Would he remain a gatekeeper, or could he become an ally? The tension between them became palpable, awakening a sense of urgency within her. The lunch came to an end, and as Lisa exited, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was just at the beginning of something larger. The prospect of gaining support was tantalizing yet terrifying. As she walked back to her desk, thoughts whirled, a mixture of hope for her burgeoning influence and the daunting shadows of opposition still lurking. Would she have it in her to confront the more entrenched stakeholders, the ones whose interests didn't align with her vision? The answer awaited her in the reflections of conversations yet to come. That tantalizing question echoed in her mind. What would her team think when they became aware of her true potential? As the days unfolded, Lisa found herself entangled in a delicate dance. Each interaction became a meticulous stepping stone toward her greater goal, and she had to remain acutely aware of the ground she was treading. A newfound determination surged within her. She envisioned seizing the opportunities that arose from her previous lunch conversation with Mike. Yet, shadows of self-doubt began to gnaw at her resolve. Driven by a combination of ambition and trepidation, Lisa structured her days around further bursts of engagement. She began to contemplate informal brainstorming sessions, hoping they would catalyze a shared sense of purpose within the team. But would her colleagues view this as a valuable avenue for collaboration, or could it invite skepticism, particularly from Mike? Her thoughts were interrupted by an unexpected email. The subject line read, "Feedback on presentation." Lisa's heart raced as she clicked it open, her eyes scanning for affirmations or critiques. The initial warmth of the praise quickened her pulse. A few colleagues expressed appreciation for her insights. Yet, buried amidst the positive feedback was a recurring theme, a hint that she might have overlooked critical perspectives. Specific criticisms pointed to areas of improvement and led her to question if she had presented a well-rounded view. By dissecting the remarks with impatience, she found herself caught between disappointment and motivation. Impulsively, Lisa began drafting a response to the group, vowing to address these critiques directly in her next discussion. But as she typed, uncertainty washed over her. What if they perceived her need to defend as a sign of weakness? Instead, she aimed for vulnerability, acknowledging their feedback as instrumental to her professional growth. This pivot became her first leap into authenticity and admission that she was still a learner. The feedback had set a fire in her, and she knew that the next step required courage. With her strategy forming in the background, she initiated small gatherings over coffee, calling them idea exchanges. The casual context shifted the dynamics. Colleagues began to speak freely, sharing anecdotes and concerns that formed the crux of their daily struggles. As weeks progressed, the session grew in attendance, yet there was still Mike, present, scrutinizing. He often remained partially engaged, his eyes flickering between interest and skepticism. Each time she shared a new concept, she felt the heat of his gaze, challenging her confidence. Was he waiting to catch her faltering, or was he genuinely invested? One afternoon, while she was presenting an innovative idea for streamlining project workflows, Mike's interruption sent ripples of disbelief through her. But how do you reconcile the metrics of success with the human element? He asked, his tone sly but simmering with genuine curiosity. The room quieted, all attention shifting to Lisa, the weight of their expectations heavy upon her. A part of her wanted to retreat, to roll into a defensive ball, but instead, she held her ground. By emphasizing collaboration, she replied, we can cultivate a more holistic approach. Success is not merely numbers, it's about fostering an environment where creativity thrives. Her response sparked a discussion that swept across the room. Surrounded by peers eager to explore her approach, Lisa noted that her voice now held gravitas. It resonated beyond the limits of her previous inhibitions. But still, as the conversation ebbed and flowed, she could feel Mike's intense scrutiny. Despite the vibrant tokens of encouragement she was receiving, a looming question lingered. Was this truly enough to shift his perspective? Determination surged through her veins, the conversation buoying initially disappointing feedback. Lisa recognized that the confrontation with Mike was inevitable. Embracing the potential discomfort of this encounter, she wondered how she could turn skepticism into collaboration. An inner voice clamored for attention. There's more at stake than just her project. It was about challenging perceptions, including her own. In the depths of her resolve, one thought crystallized. The time had come to face Mike and transform their tenuous rivalry into something more. The impending confrontation lingered on the horizon, a necessary escalation in her journey to claim her newfound influence. Would she emerge stronger or falter beneath the scrutiny? The next chapter awaited. With each passing day, Lisa felt the anticipation swelling within her, a tangible energy that thrummed beneath her skin. The atmosphere in the office had shifted, buoyed by her persistent efforts to foster dialogue and collaboration. Yet, the thought of confronting Mike loomed large in her mind, a specter casting shadows over her progress. Would she rise to challenge him, or would the doubt he inspired drown out her newfound confidence? Determined to confront her fear head-on, Lisa spent the evening crafting her approach. As much as she felt the stakes in this encounter, she also recognized its potential to usher in a new dynamic not only for herself but for the entire team. She decided to invite Mike for a one-on-one chat, believing that a direct conversation could dispel the murky impressions that clouded their interactions. The following day, Lisa found herself pacing nervously in her office before their meeting. She shifted through her notes, parsing through her thoughts and intentions. This wasn't merely a conversation, it was an opportunity to redefine the narrative they'd been entangled in. What would it take to engage him in a spirit of collaboration? When Mike arrived, Lisa offered a tentative smile, sensing the customary tension in the air. He slid into the chair across from her, eyebrows raised, curiosity peeking through. Lisa took a deep breath, channeling the energy she had gathered during her coffee sessions. "Thank you for meeting with me," she started, her voice steadier than she felt. She sat up straight, anchors planted firm beneath her. "I wanted to talk about our recent discussions and how we can work together moving forward." Mike leaned back, arms crossed, an inscrutable expression on his face. "Go on." "Honestly, I really value the complexity you bring to our discussions," she continued, her words flowing faster with each syllable. "Your questions challenge me and push the boundaries of our ideas, and I appreciate that. I'd like us to collaborate more, find common ground where your views can integrate with our evolving projects." She watched him closely, searching for glimpses of a response hidden behind his guarded demeanor. A moment of silence passed, and Lisa felt a mix of vulnerability and resolution. "I've realized I need to elevate our conversation beyond just ideas for productivity. It's essential that we focus on the human elements as well. I would love your insights on how we can achieve that together." Mike considered her words, and she felt the weight of his scrutiny, but not in a way that threatened to crush her. It fueled her. "Lisa," he began, the tone of his voice shifting slightly, "I admire your initiative. Changing the culture of a team is no small feat, and your idea exchanges are a step in the right direction." He paused, and Lisa could feel the potential for connection wavering like a tightrope strung between them. "But you must also recognize that balancing those metrics with the human side is easier said than done. Data drives results." "Yes, it does," she countered, emboldened. "But data is incomplete without the context of the people behind it. What if we focused on creating a platform where creativity isn't just cushioned by metrics, but allowed to flourish? This isn't just about proving concepts anymore, it's about building a nurturing environment for our team." He glanced away, as if weighing her words. The tension hung precariously, and Lisa felt the burgeoning hope that something had begun to shift within him. Was she breaking through? "What you're talking about is a culture shift, Lisa," Mike replied, an edge of intrigue in his tone. "It's not just about products, it's about people embracing change. What have you planned to drive this forward?" The inquiry ignited a fire in her. Here was an opening, a chance to unfurl her vision. Lisa outlined her ideas, the team dynamics she had observed, the practices she hoped to implement, each thought cascading into the next with newfound confidence. But as she spoke, doubt began to creep in again, threatening the momentum of their discussion. Could she maintain this commitment to transparency and creativity in an environment that had historically prioritized rigid metrics? As their meeting unfolded, Lisa realized that Mike wasn't just her opponent, he was a partner in a battle for progress, one that required trust and shared goals. The revelation stirred something profound within her, a radical shift in her perspective of their rivalry. Still, she couldn't shake the weight of the moment. She needed Mike on her side, but she also needed to navigate the complexities of their personalities. The conversation reached a head, leading to an uncharted territory for them both. "Are you prepared to be a bridge, rather than stand in opposition?" Mike asked, leaning forward, challenge dripping from his words. Lisa's heart raced. The ultimate confrontation was not merely against him but against the limits she had built for herself. "Yes, but I'll need your support to break this ground together." The seed was sown, but would it take root? The air was thick with unspoken possibilities and emerging conflict. How they moved forward could redefine not only their relationship but the entire team dynamic. Anticipation hung palpably in the air, as both knew that the next step demanded commitment and courage. Would they unite forces, or would their past differences spiral back into a barrier? The resolution awaited just beyond the horizon. Days turned into weeks as Lisa forged ahead, carefully weaving her ideas into the fabric of the corporate environment. The once formidable barriers that defined her interactions with Mike began to dissolve, and their weekly meetings sparked a creative alliance. They collaborated to craft a strategy that emphasized the importance of a supportive workplace culture, drawing insights from both data-driven metrics and the invaluable experiences of employees. Lisa felt an undeniable shift within herself. She was transforming from an outsider into a recognized leader. Colleagues started approaching her, invited by the aura that had bloomed around her expertise. The conversations morphed from casual pleasantries to discussions charged with energy and inspiration. She embraced the role of a mentor, helping guide others through similar challenges of reconciling ambition with empathy. Then, as if the universe had aligned, her moment arrived. At the next board meeting, Mr. Johnson summoned her to present the pilot program based on insights gleaned from team feedback. Standing at the front of the room, she could feel the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. She remembered the countless hours spent preparing for this very opportunity, the late nights working over spreadsheets, the emotional turmoil of self-doubt that had once plagued her. With confidence surging through her, she delivered the proposal with clarity, illustrating not only the positive impact of employee engagement but also highlighting the potential for increased productivity and morale. Her voice resonated through the room, and she could see shifts in expressions, the incredulity fading to intrigue, and skepticism giving way to consideration. Mike sat beside Mr. Johnson, an unexpected ally, nodding in agreement as she laid out the metrics to track the pilot's success, fostering an environment conducive to transparency. "This isn't just a program, it's an evolution," she proposed. "Our entire team has the opportunity to redefine success, moving beyond mere output to forging deeper connections that morph into loyalty and innovation." When she finished, the silence that followed felt charged with unspoken validation. Finally, Mr. Johnson broke the stillness. "Lisa, what you're suggesting aligns perfectly with our vision. Let us move forward." Her heart soared as she noted the enthusiastic responses from the board members. On the heels of that approval, Lisa basked in a profound sense of accomplishment. She had not only transformed herself from a cleaner into a professional leader but had also become an architect of change within her organization. The weight of her past struggles now transformed into a foundation of wisdom, empowering her to lift not just herself but also those around her. Months later, Lisa glanced back at her journey. She stood in a meeting room transformed into a space of inclusivity and collaboration, where every voice was sought and valued. The pilot program had surpassed expectations, employee satisfaction ratings peaked, and retention rates soared. The higher-ups recognized her contributions with an official title, Culture Engagement Lead. This recognition was not merely transactional, it was a testament to the hard work and resilience that had brought her to this moment. Amidst the accolades, she remained grounded, knowing that her greatest achievement was not the title but the bridge she had built between aspiration and reality for her colleagues. The visions of anxiety and helplessness once tethered to her heart had morphed into tenacity and hope, illuminating everything she touched. In pursuing her personal growth, Lisa proved to herself that the line between vulnerability and strength is often where true power lies. The corporate landscape became invigorated with her authenticity, and she embraced every challenge, ready to tackle whatever awaited on the horizon. Now was the moment for action. If you believe in the power of personal transformation and the courage to break barriers, you need to subscribe now to our channel. Leave a like to fuel the algorithm and share this bittersweet journey with others who need the inspiration, because it's only together that we can forge our paths. Comment below, revealing your thoughts on Lisa's phenomenal journey and theories about her next steps. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could benefit from seeing this conclusion. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.